How you living? It's time for a deck profile.
Put your hands into the water.
This is the deck profile that got my invite. I got 28th place. Let's get into it. Starting off with 3 copies of Crystron Smyger. It is the starter of the deck, but it's not the best starter of the deck. The combos change depending on your hand, and you'll see why in combo videos. We also have 3 copies of Crystron Solfefnir. This is a really good extender, and if you have one other Crystron card in your hand to start, this is a really good backup starter, if you will. Next, we have Crystron Tristaros. The best normal summon in the deck. This card has saved me so many times at the regional. It's a retaliation to my opponent activating anything. If my opponent can't negate anything, they can't OTK me because it goes into a very special monster we'll talk about later. Overall, this will get my combo continuing, and on top of that, it's really good into Nib. 2 Crystron Sulfador. I tried 3, didn't like 3. 2 is enough for the most part, but you never take out the second one from the deck. You want to go through all 3 Solfefnir first. It's a really good combo piece. It foolishes too. And even if you special summon it with a different effect, you can still use its own effect to special summon it, just to have another body. For the 1-ofs, we have Citri, Rosenix, Fistavern, and Praziodal. I now know how to say the name. All of these 1-ofs are very important. The Fistavern, you never summon it unless you're going into Chambara. Citri, you never summon it unless you are trying to get into Quarion Gandrax. But if it's the only monster on your field, you can go into other monsters that are very relevant to what's going on. It's really good during the main or battle phase as a quick effect. Rosenix is a really good way to get a token on the field to either fix your synchro numbers or have something on the field for Sulfador to pop. Finally, the Turtle. I never actually use it unless I've already used my normal summon, because you can banish it from the graveyard, special summon a Crystron from the hand. Now we have 3 Crystron Inclusion. Best starter in the deck. Basically, this is full combo. If you open Smyger, you kind of got to work for it, but Inclusion gets you everything you need in 1 card. Plus, it's also a special summon when you banish it from the graveyard. Next is Foolish Burial, basically a 4th Smyger, or if you couldn't Foolish the stuff you needed, this pretty much has your back. The level 5s, they can be activated from the hand or graveyard to use their effects. Tristaros can use all of its effects. And then all the guys that are less than level 5, they activate on the field or the graveyard, but you can only pick 1 effect that turn. In most cases, you're probably going to use the graveyard effect. You're in a bad situation if you have to use the field effect. And finally, Crystron Cluster. This really helps getting rid of stuff, and it lets you recur. That way, if you have 1 Eleskeletis in your extra deck and 1 in your graveyard, they remove it, you summon another Eleskeletis to return it to your hand. It's a really good card. It loses to Ghost Belle, unfortunately, but this card is nuts. I dodged a called by because of it. Now for the non-engine. We have 3 Ash. That's standard. You guys know what it is, what it does, yada yada. At this point, Moltrami Fualos is standard at 3. I use it because I don't care if you special summon from the extra deck. I just get more cards for Forbidden Droplet. If you take the Moltrami challenge, that's up to you. But I've won several games just because I happen to use 2 in the same turn. You guys know what it does. It's disgusting. Next, we have Drone Lockbird. I could play it at 3. I played it at 2 because I didn't care to see it. If anything, I only saw it like twice at the regional. You guys know what it does. It's pretty nuts if you do it correctly, and it's much more impressive when they play through it. 2 Ghost Belle. My personal tech. This card has always been good. You just have to decide when it's good. And this card has saved me in so many games over the entire Saturday regional. It beat Mitsurugi. It beat ryzeal. It beat Maliss. It beat everything that it needed to take care of. It's really good. It did its job. And I'm happy I got to play it successfully. Finally, Ghost Ogre. This card, just by itself, has made several people flinch today. From popping Cross because they couldn't negate it, to popping Splash Mage, since my opponent didn't have follow-up, and then every other, basically, permanent spell or trap on the field. This card outperformed everything that I played today, and I'm very happy I main decked it instead of side. Now we got 3 Infinite Impermanents. You already know what it does. It's not once per turn. It's ridiculous. It only sucks against the Orcust builds because they give you a token. Now for board breakers, we're running 3 Forbidden Droplet. I don't need it to negate your stuff. I need it to put stuff in my graveyard. All of my Crystrons have better effects while they're in the graveyard, and I get to maintain neutral hand advantage. Alternatively, I also get to activate my level 5s from the graveyard, which is really nice, because they have an effect that's hand or graveyard. Super Poly won me half my matches. Just by itself, made people scoop because I played against a lot of Orcust. I played against Mitsurugi, Maliss, Basically, any deck that had multiple monsters of the same type and or attribute, it mattered. Now we got the 1-of Trinity, Crossout Designator, Called by the Grave, and Triple Tactics Talent. These hardly came up. They didn't matter, except for talent. Ripping a card out of my opponent's hand, put him in a tougher position. I played against Fiendsmith, Apophis. I got rid of the Man with the Mark because I was able to play through the Fiendsmith stuff. Triple Tactics Talent is a powerful card that people only use to draw 2. You need to evaluate your situations before you decide on what effect you want to use. Continuing with Triple Tactics Talent. I won a game because I stole a Maliss link. I won a game because I shuffled a card. I did not use it to draw at all. It was ridiculous. And finally, Clockwork Knight. The ability to drop my opponent's monsters by 500 and raise mine by 500 is astounding. The number of times someone summoned Typhon on me and they couldn't run over my monsters was ridiculous. It was a really good time. That and it kept my Blue Eyes and Fiendsmith opponents at bay because they couldn't actually play. They told me to take it out. Nah, this card's cracked. It's good for crystron, probably not good for anything else. But it did its job. It was really good. Now for the crystron Synchro specifically, we have 1 Corian Gandrax and 2 Eleskeletis. Corian Gandrax did not come up often unless I was playing against Fiendsmith or archetypes that needed stuff. It was really good. And if they destroy it, I get to target special from the banish. Eleskeletis, on the other hand, beyond ridiculous. The fact that I can just recover a crystron card from the grave or banish, and then if it gets destroyed, special summon a crystron from the grave or banish, it's unreal. And on top of that, because it can special summon itself if it's destroyed, it enabled OTKs on the fly. A really good example is I destroyed all my opponent's monsters, I used all my attacks, I used Cluster to pop Eleskeletis and another card, if I have to. Use Eleskeletis, bring itself back or something bigger, and then I swing for game. This card is ridiculously good, and it took me a long time to figure out why we play it at 2. I now know why we play it at 2. You bring back the Cluster if you lose it. Cluster brings it back if you already have one in the extra deck. You don't need to shuffle your main deck Crystron cards because they're better in the graveyard. But you can shuffle them if they're banished. That is a thing. Now for the standard synchros, F.A. Dawn Dragster, High Speed Roy Chanbara, and Samurai Destroyer. They all have their jobs. They all perform very well, and Samurai Destroyer came up 3 times at the regional. Dragster is part of the normal combo because it's Spell Trap Negate into Corian Gandrax later. Chanbara is an OTK enabler. And you guys already know Samurai Destroyer. If your opponent makes you leave the field, then you get to special summon a machine from your graveyard. Really good if they decide to hit you with Nib on Nova, because you can summon Nova back, and then go into Infinity. So it's the same difference, just a slightly smaller outcome. Next is Powered in Zektron. This card has saved me so many times because my opponent would have lethal. I would retaliate Synchro Summon into this guy and then basically steal the game. Just by itself, I've won so many games because it cannot be destroyed. And then, because it's a mandatory effect, I get to be Chain Link 1, which means that I chain block you unless you have a target negate. Now for some spicy tech, Scarlet Dragon Archfiend. It's generic, I can summon it first, and if I can get at least 1 or 2 more monsters on the field because my games do go to time, I burn you for game. 3 matches, we went into time, and I won 2 of those because of Scarlet. The other one, I played against Maliss, and I put them down to 50 points before passing turn. They could not recover. Even if they gained life points to continue playing, they didn't have enough time to go into the battle phase. Now for the Exceed monsters, Cyber Dragon Infinity, Nova, and Chronomaly Vimana. Infinity is an Omni Negate, which requires a little bit of help. And Vimana is just a monster negate. Unfortunately, it negates the activation. That matters, but it does not remove the card it's negating. So it's good against Nibiru, but that's pretty much it. That's its job. Infinity, on the other hand, is I can remove 2 cards on my turn. Negate the activation of my opponent's stuff and destroy it. And also putting pressure on them by targeting one of their special summon monsters in attack mode to attach it as Exceed material, giving it an additional 200 attack. Now for the links, we have Clockwork Knight and SP Little Knight. Clockwork Knight, it's pretty much the Almirage for machines, but also, if I can't destroy my Inclusion, this will send it to Inclusion to search for Clockwork Knight the spell. That came up a lot over the regional. A lot of people didn't let me summon the Sulfador, and then I get rid of it and then summon the Sulfador anyway because it's in my graveyard, banishing the Inclusion. And finally, my Super Poly targets, Mud Dragon of the Swamp and Garura, Wings of Resonant Life. You guys know what they do. They did their job, and it was phenomenal. And both of them are 1 step closer to making Scarlet if I have to. Now for the side deck. We're running 3 copies of Veidos. They told me to take it out, but we're in a format where everybody has a field spell. This card by itself won me 5 out of the 6 matches I won. I played against Orcust. They have a field spell that turns all of their names into quick effects. I played against Ryzeal. Their field spell is a negate. And finally, we played against Maliss, where their field spell is a starter. Just this card by itself, I won 5 out of my 6 matches. They told me to take it out. I'm like, it puts pressure on them because if they remove it, I get to blow up the board. It is really good, especially against apophis, because it's not Temple of the Kings until it resolves. That's a very important detail to know. Playing 2 Nib, specifically for the Maliss matchup and the Mitsurugi matchup. You guys know what it does, and I can super poly the tokens into a Garura because it's legal. Moltrami Perulia. I end up swapping 1 Fualos for a Perulia and then another card for the other Perulia because I already know if my opponent needs to summon from the hand a lot, I'm going to be playing 2 and 2. It's really good to put pressure on your opponent, especially when you get to play 1 of each. It's ridiculous. Now for spells, we got Blizzard. This is pretty much, my retaliation card for Forbidden Droplet, Mitsurugi Ritual, Malice in the Mirror, Malice in Underground. Basically, if you have a nutty spell that makes a difference in the game, this card basically shut down that card's name for the turn, and if it would be sent to the graveyard, it goes to the hand instead, which means they cannot send that target for cost that turn. It's nutty. However, if it would be banished, it's going to get banished regardless. Exceed Encore, specifically for any ryzeal matchup, never came up. I played against ryzeal hybrids. The other hand traps were much better for that matchup. These were just the 2 I threw in because I had 13 side cards, which you're going to see here. And finally, Lightning Storm and Duster. You guys already know the half Raigeki and, 3-card Duster. It came up a few times, mostly against the decks that had field spells because it mattered. And that's my top 28 deck profile for Crystron. If you have any questions, comment down below or DM me on Discord. I had a